All right. How's everybody doing? Give me just a second. Y'all kind of caught me by surprise, and my computer is not wanting to cooperate. I hate to say that. It sounds choose what to share. I'm trying to share. Okay. So I am back. We did this a little earlier today, didn't we? We started out having a normal conversation, and in the middle of about 14 minutes into the conversation, Allie Cattails came in and said, "Oh my God, they found Suzanne." And oh, I did not know that Lauren Sharf was on right now. Okay, well, I'll go watch her, later. Y'all, if y'all want to go watch her, that's fine, and come back to this later. That's okay. Hey Bling, how are you doing? Haven't seen you in a long time. So we found out that Suzanne, thankfully, by the grace of God, she has been found. So there's some really great things as a result. Hey Hurt Locker, good to see you. I'm so glad too. Hey Nana Flower Power, good to see you. Hi Sketty Nona. Hey Justice Jane, we're back again. Um, No, I haven't, Bling. You're exactly right. So sometimes life. Gets in the way. Um, but uh, as I said earlier today, I think the top two things that stand out for me is number one. I think this is really good. I think it's healthy for the girls uh, that that they now have the reality that their mom did not abandon them, which is something that is very difficult for a young woman just right out of high school or in college, and you believe that your mom makes, or you're sold this story that your mom makes its decision to leave you, run off to South America, doing God knows what. That can have lasting effects on someone's identity to be comfortable and confident in your own skin. And so I think this is a blessing for them, um, that the reality is now there. She did not leave them. She never would have left them willingly. So I think that is incredibly healthy. And then I also think that Suzanne's her right to regain her dignity and to be identified appropriately and accurately as a victim of domestic violence. I think that is I think it's necessary for anyone who lives through that. It's an incredibly bittersweet day. Um you're not happy. Happy is not the I don't think that's the accurate term, but there's also, while there's relief and you're grateful, there's also just like this overwhelming heavy feeling of sadness. um it's just so tragic. It's so tragic. It was so unnecessary. It was just not, it didn't need to happen. It one one wonders, what's at the heart of this. Was it greed? Was it money? Was it good old fashioned jealousy? Was it finding out about the affair and twisting off and, oh God, this is God's plan, like we heard him say in the interview. Um, but all of that is secondary. It will find its way. I'm convinced one way or the other, it will find its way back into the court system. And all of that is something that's different. The the most important thing in my, from my perspective at this point, is that truth has been restored, and it is having truth is critical to healing, and then also to shine that light on these domestic violence situations, because they have to stop. We have to stop having these women go missing, and people just act like, oh, they just ran off. They just got a new boyfriend and ran away. No 60-year-old woman or 50-year-old woman just decides to have a boyfriend and run away and leave their family. That just isn't real. And it certainly isn't real when you take every woman who's gone missing and you attribute it to somehow she did something wrong, while the jackass sitting at home that mistreated her is really the one that is responsible for her disappearance and death. So we really have to start prioritizing these domestic violence situations as crimes, because that's what they are. So that's kind of what is front and center for me today. But seriously, what are the chances that they find her body while looking for another person? Well, I believe, Amy, that the person that they were looking for is a 55-year-old woman, a Hispanic woman, small, 5'4", 110, 120 pounds, similar to Suzanne. Um, and her partner, a 77-year-old man named Adam, he actually lives here in Houston, Texas, which I find is very interesting. But for some reason, Edna, the woman that I think they were looking for, she went missing back in May. And she apparently was in Colorado, perhaps visiting some friends in Center, Colorado. And Center, Colorado, I think, is about 20 minutes, 25 miles or so from Moffat, Colorado. And she was last seen, even though she was visiting friends in Center, someone saw her and identified her there in Moffat. And so they have been looking for her in Moffat, right? Now it's very interesting. This is kind of crazy, and there's no way to know if there's a connection or not. If you were on my live earlier, you would know that I had talked about how this area, this particular part of Colorado, it's kind of well, it's rough. There's some pretty shady characters. Very rural. Moffat itself, the population is, somewhere between 108 and 116 people, depending on what agency you look at. And it's a lot of rural. There's very little money. There's no industry. People are on public assistance for the most part. So it's kind of a bad place. There's crime, a lot of people that are, kind of living on the fringes of society. And while they were looking for Edna, in July, they were doing a big search in July, and they found a man, a dead guy, 39 years old, something like that, who was wearing very expensive Florsheim shoes. Those are dress shoes, like suit shoes. There was also a cross that was also on the body. So is that related? Who knows? But it's kind of frightening that you've got a missing woman, Edna, 55 years old, and now since July to today, you didn't find Edna, but you found two other dead bodies. Does this sound like a healthy place? It's kind of scary, right? So I've kind of given you a rundown. Now, one thing I want to do, let me share. I want to share the map here. Okay. So here is, and I've got it really, make it a little bigger. Okay, so Suzanne's house was in Maysville. We often talk about Salida, but Salida is like the closest sort of bigger town. I think there's there's a courthouse there and hospitals, and it's a nice sized town. Maysville is basically God's country. It's gorgeous, and it is very rural, and it's mountainous, and it's just lovely. Like, you can't even imagine a place like that exists on Earth. So their home was actually in Maysville. And so you can see that they went from Maysville, her travel that day. I personally think all happened on the 9th, but they're identifying the 10th, Mother's Day, because that was the day she was reported missing. But she would have traveled about 45 miles from Maysville and then into Salida, taking a right. And this drive down 285 is very pretty. And then headed straight down for about 45 miles to get into Moffat. Okay, so here's Moffat. Again, very small, 108 people, and it is out in the middle of nowhere. Now, I want to show this. Make this smaller. Okay, so Broomfield is Denver. It's out here to the west of Denver, so somewhere around here. Okay, that little bit northwest of Denver. The reason I'm showing this is because there is some confusion about Barry and what Barry did the morning of the 10th. Now, he claimed to the police and whatnot that when he left that morning to around 4:30, 5 o'clock in the morning, that Suzanne was fast asleep, snoring softly, and she was nice and safe and cozy, and all was well in the world. We have reason to believe that Barry slept in his daughter's bed that night. So why would he be sleeping in his daughter's bed and then be talking about hearing Suzanne snoring as he's leaving the room that morning? So that, that doesn't fit, right? But nevertheless, he apparently gets on the road and he heads up this way to go to Broomfield, right? So he's on this path here, or I guess more accurate, he went up here to Buena Vista, then he turned, and then he went here and then over here. So that's what he claims. And so one would ask themselves, after this new information today, where Suzanne's remains have been found in Moffat, the police have not really released any information. They're not having a press conference. They've said they are left with more questions than answers, quote unquote. And for me, I think one of those questions is, well, wait a minute, hold on. If Barry is getting, and they have telematics from his truck, so they know what direction he was traveling. They have the telematics from the truck and they have his telephone and they know what direction he traveled. He left from Maysville into Salida, up just about to Buena Vista, turned right, went up past the monastery, and then finally hit 70 and then over to Broomfield. So how the hell then did Suzanne get to Moffat? Right? That is what doesn't make any sense. So you can see that. I wish that 47-minute, I wish that would go away. How do I make that go away? I think if I do. Okay. Well, there's a road back here over to Pueblo. Okay. Let's see if I can. Here we go. All right. So if you go down to Moffat, then you've got a problem trying to get over past Crestone. There's actually mountains, a range that you would have to go through. But you can see there is, in fact, a road here. It's going to kind of wind around. So this is a problem. So the question is, how did she get to Moffat? Barry's on his way to Broomfield. There's another location too that's interesting, and that would be Gunnison. Why? because we know the girls went to Gunnison the day before, or the 8th, I guess. So it doesn't seem like there would have been any reason for anybody to be down here around Moffat. Suzanne drove the girls over to Gunnison. Suzanne and Barry messed around town and Salida a little bit the next day. And then finally, that morning, Mother's Day, Barry goes up north, headed toward Denver. And then there's Suzanne, supposedly on a bike ride where a mountain lion attacks her. Now we find her 3 years later, basically in Crestone. Well, this brings up the question for, and let's get our bearings on where we're actually at. Here is Maysville. Here is Moffat. Here is Colorado Springs. Here's Denver. And remember, Broomfield's back over here somewhere. Okay. So let's get our bearings on that. Looks very strange. Doesn't look right. I believe, my own personal opinion, I think that's one of the questions that law enforcement, they said we now have more questions than answers. I think this is one of their questions. How in the world did this woman end up in Moffat? Nobody went to Moffat. Or did they? I am having trouble with my StreamYard. It changed or something. Let me see if I can make it smaller. That did not help. Okay. So we are going to listen to this interview. And of course, we all recognize AK. We love and know AK very much. And then this guy right here is Jeff Puckett. Jeff Puckett, for those of you that are not really familiar with this case, Jeff Puckett is the guy who was in Broomfield and was in the room that Barry was in, the Holiday Inn Express, and he found the piece of mail that was addressed to Barry, and he turned it over to FBI. And he is the one who said, hey, this room really smells like bleach, like crazily. And there's towels all over the floor, and the floor is soaking wet. And why is this room such a mess? And if you remember correctly, he was with Morgan Gentile, right? Now, Morgan, a woman, was a regular employee of Barry. She worked with Barry all the time. Jeff Puckett did not. And there's been some confusion on that about, well, no, Barry and Jeff, they were tight, man. No, they weren't. In fact, this one, Jeff had been working for DSI, and Barry was a contractor for DSI. And apparently Barry tells Morgan, hey, I've got this important job up in Broomfield. I need some help. Get another person and y'all come meet me up there and we're going to do the work. And she knew Jeff. She had worked with Jeff. So she contacted Jeff and said, hey, I got a great job with Barry Morphew. Pays good. Why don't you come up there and work? Jeff gets it all worked out with his boss, and he goes up there to do this job. Okay, so that's how. So he didn't work for Barry. He didn't have like a close working relationship with Barry, even though Barry sort of gave us that impression. He kind of led us to believe that. So as this comes out, that's a little bit strange. But getting back to the question, how did Suzanne end up in Moffat? Doesn't make any sense. We know that there's no way that Barry went to Moffat or went south on the 9th or the 10th. We know he didn't. So how'd she end up there if he had anything to do with this? We don't know that he did. That he's not been charged. He's free. He's presumed innocent. That's the way the law is in our country. But it's a real question. If he leaves to go up to work and she's fast asleep in the bed, okay, well, how did she get there? And so let's listen to this conversation between AK and Jeff Puckett, and let's see if we might get a possibility, not probability, but definitely something interesting to think about.
And if you make mistakes with memory or whatever, it doesn't fucking matter.
And if
You're not on the
you hear
record.
it, put a 1 in the chat so I know that you can hear them talking.
So you and Morgan got up there about 6-ish, or did you leave about?
No, we got up there about 10-ish.
Oh, you got up there about 10-ish. Yeah. So and that's about the time when Barry was coming back.
Well, as far as I when I found out, I think he had already left from up there.
Right.
Before he had already left up there before we even started left out of Slida. He had done left from up there before we even pulled out of Slida. You know what I'm saying?
Right. No, you guys went a different way than.
Yes, we went by way of Canyon, Colorado Springs. That way.
Hey, you went through Colorado Springs and went up to Denver?
Right.
Did y'all hear that? They went to Broomfield, but they went by going south and then over east to Colorado Springs and then north. And in truth, that would have added about an hour and a half, hour and 45 minutes to the whole trip. And they're already leaving late in the evening. So why in the world would anybody want to prolong that trip when all they're doing is just going to work? What would be the point in that? So let's just keep listening to AK questioning Puckett and see what else we can find out about this unusual trip.
Hey, I'm gonna hold on 1 second. Hey, Gigi.
Oh, watch. This is a language alert. Apparently, AK is about to have a confrontation with someone. So put your fingers in your ears if you don't like cuss words. But you know, I understand what happened. Gigi deserved it.
Fucking ass, and get the fuck out of my channel, bitch. Okay. You got to get the $99 AK membership before you go come in here and start talking that shit. Get the fuck out of here, you dumb bitch.
Okay,
and
now let's get back.
And I hate doing that shit, but I'm not going to.
We'll get back to the conversation now about the trip to.
Sorry about that, Jeff. We had somebody in here coming at me sideways. That's a Barry fan. They think that Barry's innocent and everybody else is fucking guilty. So, but anyways. So you guys went through Colorado Springs and went up instead of 285. So you guys didn't meet Barry on the road. You don't know what he was doing, anything like that. Right. Okay.
Cool. So if we would have went the other way, we would have seen him, then I could have said, yeah, I seen him at a certain time, blah blah blah. But we just went that way. I don't know why.
Weird? Is that weird to you? Is that a little bit weird?
It kind of way it does. It's kind of weird. Yeah, it's very weird to me because while we went that way, we could have took an hour over an hour off the trip. But I slept most of the way going up there. Going up there anyway. But it's kind of weird. Yeah, very weird.
And Morgan was driving, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And was that her car? It was in her car, right?
Yeah.
Do you remember what kind of car that was?
Subaru.
Yeah, it was that Subaru. Okay, cool. So you guys get up there, you walk into the hotel in Broomfield. It's dark. You get your shit out of the car. You walk around. What else do you do? What happens next?
We went in there and went to we got to the desk and supposedly Barry had left the room he had, and so he had my name written on the key card. So it's for me. And it had Morgan option of either stay in the same room or get another room, and she got another room down the hall.
Okay.
So this is super uncomfortable to me, because I think that anybody that listens to this, anyone that listens to this interview, you can listen to Jeff Puckett and tell he's telling the truth. This does not on any level do any of my red flags go off that he's not telling the truth or that he's misrepresenting what happened. He just sounds like he is just preaching truth, right? He seems a little confused, like he doesn't understand, number one, why actually Barry even asked for him. And apparently Barry did ask for him by name. And he doesn't really know why they went this bizarre path of travel. That doesn't make any sense to him. And he gets in the car with Morgan and he goes to sleep. And at one point in this interview, he almost says Canyon. I think he was going to say Canyon City. But the very difficult or frustrating thing is, and I was, I was hoping that there would be a few more questions like, did y'all stop anywhere? Did Morgan stop and see a friend? Did she get gasoline anywhere? And try to get a little bit better handle on what happened between Salida and Colorado Springs, right? That's what I really, but unfortunately, we didn't get that information. And sadly, Mr. Puckett is dead. How horrifying is that? So I'm not going to tell gossip and I'm not going to, but I think when you got a guy that is this forthcoming with information, would have made a really great witness. I think it's very disturbing that he's really died at a very young age. I think that is really frightening. So we have a couple of things to listen for. When Barry did his interview with Lauren Scharf, something stood out to me that he wasn't talking about, I'm so worried about Suzanne. Where is she? Here, this is where we've looked. This is where we're going to look. I wish everybody would get out and search your property and look in, all the buildings. And if everybody could just search their own property, that would help. And we didn't get any of that from Barry. Nothing. You know what he says? He starts the interview with Lauren and he says, Lauren, Jeff Puckett spent 9 years in the pen or in prison. That's what you want to talk about, Barry? Your wife is missing. You have no idea where she is. There's going to be this organized, huge search among people. And the only thing you want to talk about is to say that the one guy that you had never had work for you before, you reach out to have him work for you on that day. You don't have the supplies on hand and you don't have the proper tools. And you leave an envelope and you put this guy's name on the room reservation. You have he and Morgan go through Colorado Springs in a really bizarre fashion. And then, wow, Suzanne ends up being found in Moffat. Tell us something, Mr. Morphew. Were you trying to set up Jeff Puckett and or Morgan Gentile? Is that what was happening that day? Because the guy before May the 10th was very different with Morgan than who showed up on May the 11th and 12th. And even George, Barry's good buddy, George. They immediately, on the 11th and 12th, they immediately began to suggest that Morgan and Jeff Puckett were lying and that they were trying to get Barry in trouble and the things they said weren't true. And it was weird. Even Morgan did an interview, and she said, I don't know why they were coming up and telling me about they were going to pay me, but I had to keep my mouth shut, and I didn't know. Very, very, very strange. So don't misunderstand why I think this is a really, really important piece of information. Not because I believe not for 1 minute that Jeff Puckett is responsible for what happened to Suzanne Morphew. Absolutely not. You listen, you go to AK's channel, you listen to this whole video, you watch Jeff Puckett's mannerisms. This guy is telling the truth. I'm convinced of it. And I wasn't on the night that this originally aired. I was watching, waiting for this. Is this guy going to be a liar? Right? After watching it, and I bet I've watched this, I don't know, 6, 7, 8 times. He's telling the truth. I'm convinced of it. So then the question is, okay, so why did Morgan and Jeff go all the way down through Colorado Springs before going up? Why'd they do that? We don't know if she stopped anywhere, and sadly, Jeff Puckett is no longer around to be a witness. That's pretty scary. He's the one that said, hey, here's some mail, one piece. He clarified, one piece of mail, not mail laying all over the room. Here's one piece of mail. Here's the condition of the room. Why did he put my name on the room card that he was in? So it all, as I'm listening, I'm thinking, wow, is that what Barry was up to? Was he trying to set up a scenario, a situation to create reasonable doubt, to make it look like, oh, well, okay, maybe Morgan and Jeff did something. And should they ever find Suzanne, should her remains ever be uncovered south in Moffat, then he's guided them to go through Colorado Springs. So it looks like they're guilty. You see does that make sense? Is that logical to y'all? Unfortunately, big ups, Jeff is dead. And that's not a joke. He is absolutely dead. I think, let me make sure, because I don't remember. I think this interview with Jeff was about a year ago. Yeah, streamed 1 year ago. And he died, was it 3 months ago? No, it must have been 6 months ago, because here's an edited comment. So yeah. So not long after this interview that Jeff does, and he is really I was impressed. This was a great interview. AK did a great job. Jeff's answers, I think he was being really, really forthright and forthcoming. And then a few months after this, mysteriously dies. And I'm not going to get into that, and I'm not going to talk about the circumstances, but the circumstances don't leave you feeling confident that it was that he had a disease or, heart condition. That's, the circumstances are pretty shady. So there's a lot uncomfortable, but thank God there's this, interview. A lot of people saw it a year ago, and, now we know. Otherwise, we never would have known that they went through Colorado Springs. We never would have known. And I think, at the time I thought, oh, that's weird. Why would they do that? And I think, AK's like, is that weird, Jeff? Like, seems weird to me. Was that? And then Jeff's like, yeah, actually, it was really weird. It added an hour and a half to an hour, 45 minutes to, well, it's just really a trip that's a few hours. Why do you want to suddenly turn it into like a 4.5 hour trip when you could have been in Broomfield within 2.5 hours? So really shady, really strange. It was odd at the time of this interview, but now that Suzanne has been found in Moffat, now I'm going, hey, does anybody remember that Morgan and Jeff went south down over to Colorado Springs and then up? If you're looking for how in the hell she ended up in Moffat, well, I don't know how she ended there, but I think we know who was trying to be set up to explain why she was there. Now, I do think that the people like Martin Smallwood, AK, a number of other people that have been really, really in the data in this case and have really, I mean, they've just been amazing. They've really made a good, strong, solid case. It does look like that Suzanne did not survive the night of the 9th. That by the time the evening of the 9th happened, she was probably already gone. So I would be more inclined to believe that in an unhurried fashion that she was disposed of. Again, Moffat's about 45 minutes from Maysville, from their home. Something you could easily do 10 o'clock at night, 11 o'clock at night, drive down there, do the dirty deed, turn around and come home, and then act out your little farce in the morning. Oh, she was sleeping nice and snoring softly as I left, my beautiful bride. I think that's easily managed, and I think it fits easily into the timeline, the official timeline, and it fits into the unusual activity with Facebook, and it's a good fit. And then all Barry had to do was get up and leave in the morning, just like his story was going to be. And then if he instructed Morgan for some reason or another to go down to Colorado Springs by way of getting to Broomfield, I don't know, maybe he made something up. Maybe he said, I need you to go to this store and pick something up. And I'm certain that the cops have already approached Morgan and asked her, why did you guys go that way? That's crazy. But nevertheless, we got it. Here's the information. And that was the first thing that popped into my mind when I saw where Moffat was located. And I said, oh my God. Now we know why they went down south as Barry went north. It was part of setting them up.
Okay.
And
now, did she pay for her room, or was it already paid for like yours?
it was already paid for.
Okay. And how far away from your room was hers? About how many doors?
It's like 4, and like coming down the hallway, you got like 4, and then you got another 20, 25 feet, and then you got another 4, so on and on down. That's how they do them.
Okay, so you were probably what, 50 feet away, maybe, or less than that?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, something like that.
Okay, so you guys had 2 rooms,
right?
And you stayed in Barry's, and you noticed this. I'm not going to put words in your mouth, but
when I first walked in the room, I'm allergic to bleach, and bleach is kind of like chlorine, but it ain't, but it is. And that smell automatically just like it was real strong, and I'm like, damn, you know what I'm saying? And that's just what I thought. Damn, you know what I'm saying? And I reckon as I sat in there, I got kind of used to it, but it was just real bad chlorine.
Have you ever smelled like around a hot tub where they use the shock chemicals and the really concentrated stuff?
Yeah,
there's a difference between that and the smell of bleach. Do you think you can tell the difference between that?
Oh yeah, because I'm
yes,
actually allergic
Gemma.
to bleach. Okay. And the smell of it gave me a bad headache if I get around it. I didn't know.
Yes, Gemma. If you remember the night before, Barry was doing some tricks with his truck, with the telematics in the truck. The data was off. It didn't match. There was this unexplained event where he just completely, the computer just completely went down. Absolutely. The evidence is there now that they have found Suzanne. I think this case is heating up. I think we're going to see a lot of things happening quickly in the coming days. That's only my opinion. It's a guess on my part. I don't have any kind of extra inside information or anything like that.
If you stayed in a room, you would have had a headache if it was bleach, right? So it had to be some sort of a chlorine product.
Yes, sir. It was chlorine.
Okay. So now, did you go to Morgan's room at all?
I did.
Did it smell like?
No, it didn't. And it was right there by the pool too. So I don't understand people saying by the pool, her room smelled like it, because her room didn't smell like it.
Now, do you know that in the back of Suzanne's her car, her SUV, there was 2 bottles of empty pool chemicals?
I didn't
found.
No.
Yeah, that was in the back of Suzanne's SUV. It's kind of crazy to find that stuff, and that was used supposedly for the hot tub, but you don't go through 2 of them in one day. That's the thing, is I've been there and I've done that. So did you see anything like empty bottles or anything, or
in the hotel room?
Yeah.
No, they were just like, he had towels. The towels were all over the floor. In the bathroom on the floor. The bed looked like it might have been kind of like just laid on. You know what I'm saying? Where it really wasn't like he slept or nothing.
Well, we know that he was in there.
And one of the another confusing point related to Barry Morphew's trip to Broomfield, the Holiday Inn Express, he changed his clothes how many times? Like every time you would see him on a camera, he was wearing different clothes, right? So it's kind of interesting. And you don't really, you can't really predict and say why he did it. You just are left with the reality of no, he did change his clothes multiple times. What was that about? What was happening for all that? Barry changed his appearance and was headed toward the border before he was arrested. I hope they have eyes on him. Oh, I don't know. I thought that he was headed to the gym when he got arrested. I think it was 3 or 4 times that he changed clothes. Yeah, exactly, Shalimar. And he's not. He's absolutely not. It is, I think Jeff Puckett deserves a lot of credit. He actually turned out to be a really stand-up guy in a story where there's not very many stand-up guys, So he's sort of one of the heroes, I think, in this developing, story. And you got to put yourself in his position. Barry's obviously a powerful person. Maybe because of the people that he's friends with, or maybe because he has money or whatever, or influence of some sort. And Jeff that really wasn't Jeff's existence, right? He's a simple working guy, and he didn't live to extravagance. And sometimes people with wealth or influence can be really intimidating. And I do think that Suzanne and her best friend, I think the text between them, I think Suzanne did, we could see that she experienced Barry as intimidating, right? So if you're a fairly simple guy, you're just trying to make a living, pay the rent, and you've got this guy who seems to be able to get away with a lot of stuff other people can't get away with, got money, got rich, important, powerful friends. That can be pretty scary to stand up against someone like that, because you're not standing up to the man, you're standing up to the man and all the people with him, right? That's the problem. That's where the fear is. And he didn't stay silent. He didn't let it quiet him. He wanted the truth out. And I think Jeff Puckett, he deserves an extra prayer. because I think he was courageous in this situation. It's only my opinion.
For
Right, because I found a piece of mail in the trash can that had Barry's address on it.
right,
Right, right.
Now, going back to that shock chemical, you can't use it the same day that you put it in, or it has to sit in there for 6 hours before you use it. And to my understanding, I don't know if you know this. Do you know if Morgan had delivered anything from the spool and polish? No.
I couldn't tell you if she did or not.
Okay.
She actually worked for him, so I don't know.
Okay. Cool. Yeah, we had a lot of people that have actually went to that hotel. They didn't smell the bleach. Just like what you say, you know, it was kind of concentrated in that one specific area.
Right. It was kind of overwhelming. You know what I'm saying? At first, you know, but I'm like, damn, this guy. Well, I went in there. Me and Morgan both walked in there, and like, you know, for a minute or two, and then we walked down to her room. Set the record straight because this is what the hell I said. You know what I'm saying? Because the tabloid just blew it all out and then made up all kind of added stuff to it, saying I found a bunch of mail.
I don't want to.
That's naming then. You know what I'm saying?
Right. So is related. So, you were friends with Morgan before you started working with Barry, or no?
But I mean,
How far back does it go?
I think Barry had been there about a year, maybe, because I worked there about almost 5 years, so close to 5 years. So he'd been on board probably, but he was just subcontracting all he was doing off jobs that DSI would build, you know, or do whatever. He was just subcontracting off them. So
so this is another part that I mean, it's a bit obscure, but I think it's interesting that Barry is in Indiana, living his best life, right? He's building his company up. He's being successful, doing a good job. For some reason that we don't really quite understand, his contracts began to fall to pieces when he was still in Indiana. He kind of hit some hard times, I think, and things just weren't working very well. And for whatever reason, he makes a decision to, well, his friends give him enough money to buy a multi-million-dollar house. I don't know. My friends wouldn't give me $1 million, but he's got obviously some very comfortable friends. And so they give him some money, and he gets some money from his father-in-law. Maybe he takes out a loan. I have no idea. But one way or the other, they work out getting this beautiful house. And so then they move there, supposedly not knowing anyone. And Morgan Gentile was actually from Indiana as well. Like, she worked for Barry there in Indiana. And so when he moves, then she moves to continue working together, I suppose. So he's only been with DSI for 1 year. And yet DSI is just keeping him on, even though he's tearing up clients' property. He's tearing down fences. I mean, breaking slabs. I mean, it's weird. I don't know of anybody that would keep a job like that unless they're already friends, unless he's buddies with someone at DSI and they have a long-standing friendship. Maybe that's what was going on. I don't know the answer to that. I'm just simply saying what I think is interesting and unusual, that, you know, he's only been there a year. They only lived there a year before Suzanne went missing. And yet you had people at DSI that were true blue, team Barry all the way. Seems strange. Suzanne's dad was a doctor. The money came from her. Yeah, I knew she got money from her mom's inheritance, and yeah, there was some land holdings and things like that. But Barry did have he did have some companies early on in Indiana that were building up and doing well. He had some government contracts, highway contracts, which is lucrative. And then he lost control of it, and I don't know, nobody knows why, nobody knows what happened. There are some comments made by Suzanne where she notes that Barry's just real shady. Talk Whenever he would talk about his work, it always made her uncomfortable because it seemed shady. We don't know what she meant by that. We don't know what she was referring to, but she did the books for him, so she would know. So it is kind of curious what she could have been referring to, right? Wonder how Barry is supporting himself these days. Well, I mean, Barry is free man, and he can do whatever he wants. If he wants to get on an airplane and go to Honduras or go to Saudi Arabia, he can go wherever he wants to, do whatever he wants to do. I don't know, Carmen. That's a question. Can Barry claim her remains? I would feel confident saying this. I'm pretty sure that they're not releasing her remains. I'm pretty sure that this remains a focus of a serious criminal investigation, not only because, well, she disappeared in very unusual circumstances, but also because she's been located in an area where there was also a man found dead, and we have another woman missing. And so it just seems like it's just gotten out of control. So no, I wouldn't think, just because the criminal investigation, I wouldn't think that they are inclined to release her remains. Remember that silly judge in Idaho has yet to release JJ and Tylee, because you got Chad Daybell's trial coming up. So I don't think that she's going to be being released. She's had a crime committed on her, so no, he can't claim her remains. There you go, Blissful. It's good to see you, Blissful. Welcome back. Blonde PT, do you mean my remark about Morgan and Barry a secret combination? They found her, Shannon. They found her remains, and it is the strangest story, because they were not searching for her. They were searching for a different missing woman. There's a 55-year-old woman that went missing in the first part of May this year, and they were searching around Moffat, because Moffat is the place she was last seen. And as they're searching, they find Suzanne. Just like that. Boom. There she is. The other thing that, Shannon, that is just crazy about this story is they were searching for this same woman. Her name is Edna. They were searching for her back in July in the same area. They found another dead body, Shannon. They found another dead body there. It was a man, I think, if I remember correctly, about 39 years old. And he was wearing very expensive shoes. They're called Florsheim shoes. They're just dress shoes for men, right? That when you're wearing a suit or whatever. So he was wearing Florsheim shoes, and then he had a cross, a pretty unusual, kind of looks like an antique, kind of maybe Roman Catholic looking cross. So yeah, Shannon, it's crazy. It is crazy. So that's kind of what I was thinking is, how did Suzanne get to Moffat? Why is there also another dead person in that same near location? I don't know how close they were, but they were definitely searching for the same person. And how would Suzanne have gotten to Moffat? And so that's kind of what we're talking about. So if you missed the first part, I hope you'll go back to the beginning of the video and go ahead and listen through, because we're listening to Jeff Puckett, and I think Jeff Puckett has the answer to that. I think the body is moved is what it sounds like, maybe a shallow grave. that is another very good possibility, Yasmin, is that she was somewhere else, and maybe someone said, hey, I think we better move. They're searching again. And I know, critters, right? That's how you knew if somebody was really fashionable, or they were faking it. If they had Florsheim shoes, it was the real deal. Yeah, Moffat is about 45 minutes south of Salida. But remember, Barry and Suzanne lived in Maysville. Oh, heavenly clouds. I'm going to tell you, hey, Zelda, welcome. So good to see you. Yeah, well, Barry says that he and God are besties, and so he would disagree with you because he says that this was all God's plan for Suzanne because she was a cheater. Yeah, I secretly, I always wanted to believe that she really did make it to South America, that she really was a gone girl and she was escaping a domestic violence situation. I kind of, I had hoped that that might be the reality. And we, now we have our answer. So it's pretty sad. This is like the Murdoch web, many involved for profit. You know what, Fractured Fairy Tales, I'm kind of with you on that. I'm beginning to think, rather than this being a simple case of, somebody getting mad and acting out in a moment of passion, I'm beginning to think this is something bigger, that there's more people involved. And there's got to be something unique about this location in Moffat, because you have another missing person, dead person down there in that same general location. And who is it? Like, how do you just have somebody wearing these nice, expensive clothes, possibly an antique, jewelry, and nobody knows that the guy's missing? Like, nobody's looking for him. We don't even know who he is. We don't even know his name. So it is a very, it is very strange. Let's see. There's another guy that was involved. Sloan was his name. Yeah. Okay. So there's a guy. This was February 2018, but he's still acting out. There's still some stuff with him coming out here and now and then. 35-year-old man arrested, allegedly breaking into two houses on the 600 block of Colorado Street. Tanner Scholes caught a neighbor's attention. And the guy's going from house to house and breaking into houses or looking into houses. All of this down there around Moffat. So there's a lot of criminal element happening in and around Moffat, for sure. We got Moffat County Sheriff's Office arrests a pedestrian who was armed with a rifle on Friday. This was just September 22nd, 2 days after Suzanne was found. On Friday morning, Craig residents received an emergency alert telling them to shelter in place as officers. Oh, I'm sorry. That's Moffat County. That's not Moffat, Colorado. Sorry. That's the other thing. I'm glad that I read that because it points something out for y'all. Be really careful when you're looking for information. Moffat, Colorado is down by Crestone, or southwest of Colorado Springs. But Moffat County is in the far northwest corner of Colorado, nowhere even near Salida. So don't get confused as you're kind of reading and looking for information, because they're two completely different places. So this happened in a town called Moffat, but there is the county of Moffat, but it is all the way far north, okay? So this, isn't Bear already in a cage at Jules' house? Yeah, Barry behind bars. That is my bird. That is my true. And Moffat is extremely rural, 108, 115 people total. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. All right. Said law enforcement was investigating another case. Yeah, I think they were looking for Edna Quinn. Hold on. I did a background check on her. Hold on, I'll tell you. Edna. What's her last name? Edna Denise Quintana, age 56. Lives in Center, Colorado, but she was also just recently living in Houston, Texas with Adam. So we don't know, we don't really exactly know when, but I can tell you this. The articles that I've been able to find, there was also a Facebook post. It really seems more like she was visiting friends in Center, not that she actually lived there. And Center's just about 15, 20 minutes from Moffat. So even though she was with friends in Center, Colorado, she was actually last observed in Moffat, and that's where they are searching for her. Hey, Morgan LaFay, welcome. Good to see you. Welcome back. All right. I now understand why the interview with Morgan had an odd feel to it. She was being salty. Anyone else know what I'm saying? I know exactly what you're saying. And I thought it was a bit, strange. But I think, do you remember when she says, oh gosh, let me pull it out of my brain. She says, she said, people say I'm the other woman, or they treat me that like I'm the other one woman. I'm not the other woman, but I am a woman. Do y'all remember that? That was really strange, wasn't it? I should go find that interview. So it was really odd. And like Shalimar said, it's kind of salty. She was kind of snarky a little bit. So when she says, I'm being treated like the other woman, I'm not the other woman, I mean, I am a woman. Now we know why she said that, because she knew that Barry was in fact having an affair. And the reason that she knew that he was having an affair, it was because it was her friend that he was messing around with. That would be old Shoho. Remember Shoho the pony? So, hey, Shamina Wright, welcome. Good to have you. Maybe she's the main woman in Barry's life. Yeah, I don't think so. I think Shoho was, but I don't think Shoho is now. Edna disappeared May 3rd. Thank you, Kathy. May 3rd this year, right? I mean, this was a recent disappearance. So, so I really, I think this is, I don't want to let this live kind of drag on for hours and hours and hours, because there's a very specific purpose for me wanting to do this particular live, and it was this. And I'm going to put, here is the link. Mods, if you'll just kind of share this link as I finish up my live, that would help me. I just put it in the chat. That is the link to AK's channel. I want you to go over and, like and subscribe to his channel and watch this interview all the way through. Jeff's actually a funny guy. He does say lots of interesting things about Barry and his interactions with Barry. And I think that AK does a great job in the interview. I mean, it's just all around a really, 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 really informative piece of, in my opinion, I think it's evidence. It's Jeff speaking after Jeff has now been killed and can no longer speak for himself. So I think it's highly valuable in the possibility or the likelihood that we have another, possible trial. I think this is important. And so go watch it. It's worth the time, I promise. But here's the reason why I wanted to do this particular live today. And if you give me 1 second to get my, there we go. Got to get my map back up. All right. So this was the driving force, okay? That from Jeff Puckett's interview with AK, and AK did such a good job eliciting this information. It's so valuable. Through this interview, we learned from Jeff that as Barry leaves Maysville and he travels up toward Breckenridge onto I-70 and then over to Broomfield, as that is happening, we actually have Morgan Gentile and Jeff Puckett leaving Maysville and going over to Colorado Springs, right? And they probably had to go down to go over and then up. So it's weird. This path that they went took them almost to Moffat. Right here, 285, they would have turned to head this way and up. So it's very strange. And it gets them close. It gets them really close to Moffat, right? Just a few miles. In the beginning, I looked at this and I thought, wow, they did it, right? Oh my God, he did it. Puckett, did it. And then I thought, no, I can see that interview. I can watch that interview and watch that man talk. He is not lying. So what was this about? And now what I'd like to know, now I would like to talk to Morgan and say, Morgan, did Barry tell you to go through Colorado Springs? Were you told to go that way? Maybe you were given a task like, hey, I need you to go to this store and pick this up. I need you to meet this guy and pick this up. Because if that's the case, if Barry did instruct her to go to Broomfield, but go by way of Colorado Springs, then you have that likelihood he was looking for a patsy. He's trying to set these two up. And the way that they were treated the day after was very strange. It's very odd. And if it hadn't been for Jeff looking at this situation when he got there, and the smell in the hotel room and the weird mail in the trash and all that, no supplies that were needed for him to do the job that he's being paid for. The supplies were never delivered. The proper tools were not there. They did not have the large equipment they needed. It just simply was not a job that was ever going to happen. It was not going to happen. So why did Morgan and Jeff get paid to go up to Broomfield? Why were there hotel rooms in Morgan's name and Jeff Puckett's name? Why? And in the event that Suzanne is ever found down here in Moffat, Barry is free and clear. Barry's free and clear because his truck telematics have him going north. He's on cameras in the Holiday Inn. There's cameras at the McDonald's. The man's running all over town to trash cans. Everybody's going, oh, he's got to be disposing of evidence. Really? You think he's disposing of evidence, or he's making damn sure that he gets seen by a security camera? And meanwhile, as he is charting and getting documented all the way up here, Suzanne is down here. And who else is down south? Morgan Gentile and Jeff Puckett. It's very interesting. And thank God for AK to do the interview. Thank God for AK to do the interview. All right. Tyson posted on his channel a month ago. Posted what, Diane? It would be very unusual to go from Maysville to Broomfield via Colorado Springs, right? It's really strange. We got stuck in Aspen, well, Snowmass. We got stuck in Snowmass on Christmas a couple of years ago. And there was a big blizzard. I mean, a huge blizzard was happening. It shut down the airports, and all that. And so I was supposed to fly, and my husband, my son were going, they were driving, but the airport got shut down. And I said, it's going to be a week or more before it fires back up and I'm even able to get out of here. I'm just going to load up in the truck with y'all and leave with y'all. And for us to get out of there, we ended up having to go west almost to Utah and then south and then across New Mexico. It was brutal. Like, it was the longest drive in history. So yeah, when I look at what they did going through Colorado Springs to get to Broomfield, yeah, I remember that Christmas having to drive over to Utah and then to New Mexico and then over to Texas. And I just think, why would you do that? Why? You've only got a 2.5 hour drive the normal way to Broomfield. Why are you going to make it a 4-hour drive or a 4.5 hour drive? It's weird. Okay, Mystic Firefly says, no, someone just said today, I heard her say it. It was Zav who said it, but I have not heard it. So I ask here. Wait a minute. I don't know what's happening, Mystic Firefly. You need to read my comments first, Jot. Okay, I'm looking for your comments. Mystic Firefly, where are you? I had no idea if Tyson is deceased. Do any of you? Tyson? Tyson Draper? What? Oh my God. Well, and interestingly enough, Tyson would be another witness. Is that true? Someone said it today. It was Zav who said it. No one has confirmed that. Celestial says no, he is not. Tyson posted a week ago. Yeah, Tyson caught Barry. Tyson is absolutely on the witness list. Okay, well, let's look. Let me see what I can find out. Hold on a second. Just 1 minute. So Plunder is really good friends with Tyson, like in real life. Huh. She really hasn't been posting. That's strange. Let me go to her videos. Hold on. So she did yesterday, she did a Sidney Powell. And then it was 6 days before that, she did something on Sidney Powell. And then a Corey Richards. So nothing. Huh. All right. Well, that doesn't tell us anything. I don't know. Let's see. Yeah. So the last time Tyson um, did a video was 1 month ago. 1 month ago. Hmm. Weird. How would Zav know? Um, I don't either, Nancy Drew. I did send Tyson a personal message, no response yet. How long ago did you send it, Firefly? Yeah, I love plunder. Thank you, AK. AK says not true. Well, we don't know, AK. Apparently Zab Girl said it in her channel. So Firefly messaged Tyson at 5 o'clock today, but hasn't heard back. I know, blonde PT. Wow. I think it's just a rumor. It's a terrible rumor if it is. He has 2 channels. The Tyson Draper Show is his newest. He posted on TikTok yesterday. There you go. Okay. So everything's fine. Weird. What a terrible rumor. Well, there you go, Zab Girl. All right. How are you doing, AK? Quite a crazy development, isn't it? I don't know if you want to I'll put a link up if you want to come up and give us your perspective on things. You don't feel like you have to, because I know it's late, if you don't feel like coming up, I certainly understand. I'm fine as frog hair. There you go. Jeff Puckett passed away. I think Jeff, the boyfriend, is still alive. Um, yeah, I don't quite understand. Jeff Libler, he sure got out easy on all this, didn't he? Very few people um, spent much time, discussing him. I think that's unusual, and I'll tell you why I think it's unusual. I think it's unusual because it appears that that he was the last one that Suzanne was talking to, and I think that's significant. But the police were not really very interested in Libler, so it was messy. It's definitely a messy situation. There, he had a lot of kids, and it's a lot of hurt, a lot of people to be hurt in the process. Um, Anything we should be concerned about with your CAT scan today, AK? Jeff was intentionally unalived. It was weird, Goofy Girl, 100%. I think so too, AK. I mean, it's hard to ignore that, right? If I'll tell you this, Heavenly Clouds, if I was a tattoo kind of girl, I'd probably get a tattoo. I'd probably get the butterfly as a tattoo. I think it's really pretty, but I'm not really a tattoo kind of girl. You know what I mean? No, I think Jeff Puckett was, you know, heroic in this particular situation, and he stood up against a bully. That matters. It's good. I don't know, Shamina. I mean, I'll let AK answer that if he wants to. I don't know. He had a OD with methamphetamine and fentanyl. And didn't you say that that was weird because he normally did not take downers? Is that what it was? I don't remember exactly how it went. Jeff Puckett was no. Jeff Puckett was a worker. He was the guy that went into the Holiday Inn Express and said that the room smelled strongly of chlorine. He found the piece of mail that was in the trash can. I think it's my opinion. AK could disagree with me. I think that Jeff Puckett was the patsy. I think he was being set up. That's what I think. Yeah, I agree, Shalimar. Jeff hated everything but meth. He was very open on the topic. Yeah, wow. Well, that information about he and Morgan going to Broomfield by way of Colorado Springs, which incidentally took him down toward Moffat, right? That interview could save the day with that. And again, I don't think that Puckett did it. I think listening to that interview, I think Puckett 100% was telling the truth. I think everything he said was, stand up, accurate. But the question still is to Morgan. Morgan's the keeper of the answer, and that is, were you told to go through Colorado Springs? Were you instructed to drive through Colorado Springs? Because if you were, that doesn't look good. But it definitely gets Barry in the clear. So it's pretty amazing. I'm wondering what led them to that location. What led the investigators to that location, they were looking for, it was a different investigation unrelated to Suzanne Morphew. I think, it's my guess, that they are searching for a woman, a 55-year-old woman that went missing May the 3rd in this area, Moffat. Her name is Edna. She was actually staying in Center, Colorado with some friends. Center's about 15-20 minutes from Moffat. And she was actually last seen in Moffat, which is why they're doing these searches there. What is particularly curious to me, though, is now here we are in September, and they're looking for Edna, I think. They're looking for Edna, and they find Suzanne, thank God. But in July, so the lady goes missing in May. A couple of months later, July, they're looking around Moffat looking for Edna, and they find a man who has been killed. So really, really strange. I have 2 hours of Jeff and I speaking that was never released and will never. Law enforcement refused to view it. Why, AK? Wow, that is just, I am just blown away by that. Hey, Blissful, good to see you. Well, so as far as Suzanne being a gone girl, I mean, that's the BS that was shoveled, right? That was the explanation to the girls why their mom was gone. And, oh, she went to Brazil to be with a boyfriend or something. Not Brazil, I think it was Belize. When people, AK, the amount of searching that he's done, and he and Martin going through the data with the fine-tooth comb, and still you've got cops, you've got those big searches by the brother Andy, and still nobody can find her. you start thinking, you start hoping that maybe she is alive and maybe she did escape a dangerous situation and she did make it out free and that she's living her best life somewhere, on a beach. You do hope that that was the ultimate conclusion, although never realistic, right? Like, for example, where would somebody like Suzanne Morphew, how would she know how to get a passport, of a fake passport that would be able to get her through an airport? That kind of thing is something that most of us don't know the people that could do that for us. And if we do, we don't have the money, the cash to give them for that kind of thing. But still, you kind of hope because the other option is too sad and terrible. So today was terrible. Today it's final, and the reality, and it's awful and it's bittersweet, and you're not happy that she's found, but you're grateful and relieved. But now it's a come to Jesus moment for Barry. It's like, why'd you tell your daughters that she took off to Belize with a man, or that was the plan? Who took your $69,000 out of your stupid little, safe? Like, that was quite an elaborate ruse to come up with when it was just because somebody kidnapped your wife. So it's really, he's got a problem. This really creates a problem for Barry Morphew, in my opinion. I always hope these women are alive. Like with Kylie Rodney, I hope she is alive somewhere. Yes, it is conclusive. Fractured Fairy Tales. They've notified the family. Maybe someone knew where he hid her and moved her to a different district so they could investigate. Barry made Susan look bad so Barry can be a victim, or made Suzanne look bad so he could be a victim. Potential new DA will be amazing. Is that Anne? What's her last name? Anne. Can't remember. Oh, good. The new DA is a Hope Rocks fan from a different case we worked on. That is amazing. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. God does work in mysterious ways. Absolutely. They found her cancer port. Oh my God. So sad. Yeah, I think they found her on the 22nd. Is that right, AK? But wouldn't you like to be a fly on the wall tonight, AK, at Barry's house? Would it? You know him better than probably any of us here. How do you think he responded to the information? Yeah, I think it's likely that it's skeletal, Martian. I would too, Diane. I would love that. I've heard scattered skeletal that had been in a shallow grave. Oh, you heard it was scattered? Huh. Me too. I hope they're asking lots of the right kind of questions. I don't see how you can do that anymore, Kathy. This takes that power away from him. He can't, there's no story to make up. What was for, oh, I don't know. I'll just wait until there's either like a public announcement or AK knows or somebody knows. Her remains were in a shallow grave and then scattered in a radial positioning. So were they arranged, AK? Yeah, hounds, absolutely. Were the do they believe that the bones were placed, or was it more of like animal activity? No, disputed from a central position. Wow. There's a question, Kathy. Thrown and kicked from a central spot. Man, so terrible, isn't it? Yeah, it's terrible, Blonde PT. I agree. No, Hounds. I don't think her bicycle. She was not found near her bicycle. I don't know where this rumor started. The location of Suzanne is 45 miles away from Maysville. The bicycle was found in Maysville on the side of the road. The body is in Moffat, which is almost to Crestone. It's south of Maysville, south of Salida. The bike and the body are not close together. I don't know who started that rumor. Why are people saying that? That is not true. There was no dart. 28 minutes from Puma Path. FBI stated she is within a 2-hour drive from Puma. So if she's 28 minutes, so that then her body was found north of Moffat. Yeah, that's not right, Heavenly Cloud. I don't know who's saying that, but please correct them. That's not right. On Highway 285 at mile marker 113. Thank you so much, AK. Thank you so much for that. She wasn't riding a bike. I don't believe she was riding her bicycle. I think that was just the story that was told. I don't think it's true. Yes, Crestone is controversial. I did a couple of videos about Crestone, the mythical nature of Crestone. I think I did 3 different videos back during the Chris Watts days. It's got quite a history. What was the last proof of life? So there was something after she sent that to Libler? Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, Crestone's a pretty cool place. She never sent the picture, so it never got to Libler. Wow. Last proof of life in the affidavit was not taken at Puma. We found conclusive proof that it was from Mexico while she was on vacation. See, that's what I thought, Shamina. How do we know that she was talking to Libbler? How do we know that because there was never like a FaceTime or a Zoom, right? So maybe it was Barry that was communicating with Libbler. Lots of missing people from Crestone, young people. And some people have talked about Moffat, that it sounds familiar. Moffat is where Love Always Wins cult, the woman that died and they hung Christmas tree lights on her and kept her in the bedroom for, I don't know, weeks and weeks after she died. That's where they were at. The house she was at was in Moffat. Yeah, Shoho. Alicia said that Lauren Sharf said the bones were scattered. I do. I remember very well, AK. It was very interesting, wasn't it? Yeah, it's funny. In fact, I think we were talking about it that night when the guy in Dallas took over the mosque. I think that what both of those conversations happened in the same night. It was very exciting weekend. we had Love Always Wins cult, and you told me too that you were going on a some kind of a tourist trip into Granite. Do you remember the lady that owned the rock shop? I think all that was the same time. It was it was funny. We had a good time. I was like, I'm pretty sure that there's going to be hallucinogenics involved. Mother God, yes. The biggest business in Moffat is the dispensary. Spoke with her once after our chat. I'm telling you, some really colorful characters in Colorado, right? It's definitely not for the faint of heart. You got to really appreciate unique people because they're everywhere. I don't know, Justice Jane. I hadn't seen him in a while. I think he's been really involved in that whole the Delphi stuff that's been going on. Whoever put her in. So one more question, AK. I know you've asked 10 million, answered 10 million questions. Do you know it, like when we see the video, it looks like they're searching under a tent. Looks like they're like sifting through the bones, close to a barn or a house or a new construction. Is that accurate, or was the grave like further out away from the house? Or maybe you don't know. Nana says the nut jobs are definitely transplants. I, hopefully one day I'll be one of those transplants, Nana. Okay, so that was from the old previous investigation. The build site. That's what I thought. When I looked at it at first, I thought, well, that looks familiar. And then I thought, no, I don't think so. I don't think that house, I don't remember that house. So, okay, that makes sense. So it's just B-roll. Okay. Yeah. So, okay, so the grave site was further like like further away from civilization. It was like out like in the wilderness area, but toward the hills, right? Not in an area that people wouldn't just happen upon it. That probably a place where not very many people walk around. Very close. Yeah, absolutely. Firefly. Well, I don't know if I would say very close. It's maybe, is it 10 miles from the house? Watts house sold with a married couple, 3 kids. It's a field with sagebrush off the road. Huh. Off the road. Do you know how far, Goofy Girl? Desert with sand and sage. Yeah, 45 minutes from Maysville. Yeah, I think they're keeping it pretty. I think the details are kind of being kept, a bit quiet. 1/10 of a mile off the road, AK? It's a 28-minute drive. So yeah, so they were north of Moffat. Goofy Girl. Very close to 285. Is it close enough to account for the missing miles, AK, on his truck? True, Nana. Goofy Girl. Your boys definitely will not use your name. That's right, hounds. There'll be a proper burial. The family will get comfort from having her near them again. They'll know where she is. But he wasn't alone. Tell you what, he is he's a complicated guy. The news originally reported south of Moffat were purposefully given wrong information, I think. Well, maybe because maybe they could anticipate a lot of, sightseers would try to go see what was happening. Remember, she was traveling. She took her daughter to Gunnison on the 8th. I think it was on the 8th. All right. So it is the girls may think they had caused the family to split due to her seeing another man. Yeah, maybe. And I definitely think that the girls are in 2 different places, right? I think the older one might be a little angry, but I think the younger one sort of was open about her concern about the fighting between Barry and Suzanne, and Suzanne needed to protect herself and try to, get out. And so I don't know. It's about as tragic as you can imagine. It's really sad. It's really, really sad. The younger one who knew the truth. Yeah. Yep. Macy and Miles 100% knew about the abuse that Suzanne had endured. And too, AK, if you look at the body cam, you can see Miles's dad. He knew, didn't he? Like he knew it. You could see it the minute it occurred to him. You could tell he was like, "Oh man, this is going to be bad." You could see it. So sad, so heartbreaking, and so unnecessary. Just unnecessary. Didn't have to be this way. You hear that, Barry? It didn't have to be this way. Your choices led to this crap. Yeah, blonde. Absolutely. Oh, yeah, absolutely. Heavenly Cloud. We see that all the time. It's one of the big problems. Preach it, AK. Absolutely. And it's a little amusing for me to think about Iris, the beautiful flower, finding out that they found Suzanne, that they found Suzanne's body. It's a little amusing to me to imagine her being so disappointed because they had that delicious 10 million, $15 million lawsuit, and this is really going to throw a big kink in their lawsuit, right? I'll tell you this, Gemma. My opinion, I think that because she was hell bent on leaving, that she legitimately wanted a divorce and wanted out of this relationship. I think whatever he was involved in, they weren't going to allow her to be free and get rid of him. That she knew too much, even if she didn't even know that she knew it. Yep, birds of a feather flock together, AK. We find our people, right? Was that part of the search area from the volunteer search? Oh no, not even close, Angela. Mm-mm. Nope, they didn't even get close to it. That's right, Hurt Locker. Oh, so it's so clear, Alicia. It's shocking when you see him. Or maybe it was about money. Absolutely, hounds. Absolutely. So AK says lots of crazy information is going to be coming out. Hold on tight. Well, that sounds fun. AK. That sounds very interesting. I remember, whoops. I remember a friend who had gotten a restraining order for her estranged abusive husband. I was visiting her at the time and he broke into the house, put on her stove, burned the restraining order. That's terrifying, Nancy. Truly. There was a huge motivator for him, lots of money. And then again, she was the one that wanted out. Yep. So it's going to be crazy, huh? Iris is laying flat on her living room floor about now, saying, make it go away. Me too, Aquarian baby. That went through my mind quite a bit. Yeah. Does anyone know who they were searching for? I think they were searching for Edna Quinones. Hey, Shar, how are you doing? Oh, you're just finding out? Yep, they found Suzanne. Exactly, AK. Suzanne had all the money. Barry was broke. Just north of Moffat on mile marker 113, according to AK. Me too, Shar. I think it's a wonderful day. Yeah, absolutely. Well, okay, y'all, it is going on midnight for me, and I do have a long day tomorrow. So Goofy Girl says, was she found on private property or on state property? I believe someone said it was like a national park. I'm emotional because it's final. Yeah, and that, that was something I had said earlier, Shar, is, it's really a bittersweet event, because on the one hand you're relieved that she's found, but on the other hand, now there's no more hope, there's no more questions. We know what happened. Absolutely, Truth Seeker. Okay, did AK say private property? Who owned the property? Do we know? Private yard. Thank you, Nana. It was great to see you again. Absolutely blissful. Absolutely. This is long needed. Absolutely long needed. So basically, here's the link for AK's channel. Please go over, subscribe. He listen to the interview with Jeff Puckett, and I mean, he's got so many great videos related to Suzanne and her disappearance and whatnot. Also, apparently, Lauren Scharf did a live tonight, reporting on Suzanne being found. Probably did some historical background and whatnot. So I hope that you'll go over and listen to Lauren. And if you enjoyed the live and you want to get notifications for the next time I go live, because I don't go regularly, I kind of grab time when I have it. If you hit the subscribe button, then you'll get notifications that show when I'm going live. And if you enjoyed the content, I'd appreciate a thumbs up. If you didn't enjoy the content, then thumbs down is absolutely appropriate. All right. So thank you so much, AK, for the wealth of information that you gave us tonight. We are indebted to you. You're a great guy, and you're well loved. That is for sure. And I hope I see you guys, probably not tomorrow. Tomorrow's one of those long days, but definitely on Friday. Okay. All right. Well, thanks for being here. And, special prayers to Suzanne's family, because this is going to be the battle is now beginning with them, because they know, they see the writing on the wall, they see what's coming. So please subscribe, hit the thumbs up, and I will see you guys this weekend.